What's going on, everyone? Steven here. Today I'm bringing you a bit of a different video. I'm going to show you how I like to hack around with certain websites on my own. So this isn't like hacking a server or anything like that. This is basically me tweaking websites, and typically I'll do this stuff where, like in this case, I have ad block plugins and I have Ghostery, all those things installed and running. However, this website not only gives me garbage pop-ups like this, but it has little shady things like this that whenever you click a button, sometimes it'll show an ad as well. This looks like it's part of Chrome's notification thing, but it's actually in an iframe, which an iframe is kind of a way for you to show a web page inside of a web page. You can fill it with whatever content. It's a sneaky way to get content from off-site and bring it in as well. A lot of little tricks that go into this stuff. So anyway, I'm going to be using an extension called Tampermonkey, which lets you write your own JavaScript to run on pages, right? So I'm going to be using that and jQuery, because tons of sites have jQuery, and jQuery is just for doing the type of stuff I'm going to be doing. It's way faster for me to iterate my ideas through jQuery than it is to use vanilla JavaScript. So this isn't about JavaScript vanilla versus jQuery, so for any web devs out there, cut me some slack. Anyway, alright. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to bring up Chrome DevTools here. That's F12 on the keyboard if you don't know what it is. Chrome DevTools. Up here you have all these tabs that let you do different things with a web page, basically. So you can view the source code, you can view sources to see where a page is pulling, you know, all of its assets and scripts and things like that from. And you have this application tab, which is good for basically sometimes, well, typically when you go to a website, it starts keeping track of who you are instantly. And, you know, like maybe the first time you visit that site, it'll serve you an ad whenever you click somewhere. And then the next time you go back, it won't serve you that same ad or something because it remembers you. So maybe that's through a cookie, maybe it's through something in local storage, or whatever. But anyway, what we can do is clear site data. And when you do that, it basically refreshes everything about that page. So once we refresh the page, it's like we're coming here for the very first time again. So this is like whenever you want to be able to reproduce certain behavior like pop-ups and ads and whatever. And yeah, so that's a nice little tip there. The final thing that I want to show in this video, besides this iframe thing and the pop-ups, is this timer that's counting down before this download button shows. I'm going to make it to where the download button always shows and there's no countdown or anything. I don't have to worry about that. So what I'm going to end up with is whenever I go to completeroms.com, I'm not going to see this stuff. I'm not going to see any ads pop up. I'm not going to see this download button missing. I can just navigate the site and click through it as if there was none of that stuff. So I'm going to be blowing through a lot of things terminology-wise. If you hear something that you don't know what it is, one of your best bets is going to be to go to Google and hit up W3 schools and type in whatever you hear me say that you don't know what it is. So maybe that's event listeners, right? And you can read the W3 schools article about event listeners, or window object. You can read about what the window object is. You can read what iframes are. You know, you can read what classes are, IDs, elements, everything. Okay, so W3 Schools is an excellent resource for all that kind of stuff. All right, so the first thing that I want to tackle is this download button right here. I want to make it always show, and then I want to get rid of this countdown text. I don't even want to see it on the page. Right, so now we're going to jump into Tampermonkey. So you can go to Google and just type in Tampermonkey extension, and then it should bring up the link for you to get that extension, install it. All right. One thing that you'll probably also want is the Tampermonkey, what do I look for? Documentation. And this will explain to you how to do certain things, like in the header of user scripts, all these things that you can use. All right, so that will come in handy as well. But once you install Tampermonkey, what you can do is, here's the icon for it. You'll click that and click Dashboard, and this is where you can create and edit your Tampermonkey scripts. So here I'm going to click this tab, which will add a new user script. I'm going to change the name here to completeroms.com, and I'm going to hit Control S to save. So now our script is saved and we have it added to this list here, and completeroms.com is the name of the script, so that I know whenever I go look in my list here of scripts, if I see it running, that it's that script. So if you want to edit a script, you'll click this icon here. Alright, and now what you can do is this match, there's @match and @include. You can read the differences between those. Match is typically fine. If I want a script to run on all of completeroms.com, then I can just do star here, which will cover HTTP and HTTPS. I can do star here, which will cover www, or if there's something else, .completeroms.com. And that should cover our bases. The other thing I want to do is add the run at. Let's see, and then we can go to the Tampermonkey documentation again and Control F, run at, to see what that does. Alright, run at. So you can, this allows you to define when your script is going to run. Is it going to run as fast as possible? So once you hit the website, this script is going to try to run instantly. Do you want to wait until the document body exists? Do you want to wait until the page has basically been loaded and everything exists on the page? This is the one I typically like to use, document end. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and run at document end. Alright, so this is how you tell your script which site you want it to run on. This is very important. Initially, when I started doing this stuff, I would forget to put a website there and wonder why on earth my script didn't work. And it was because I didn't have that defined. And then when to run. This is called an immediately invoked function expression. Basically what this does is you define your function and it runs instantly. You don't call the function. It just runs. Okay? So you'll notice it because you'll see function. A function is wrapped within parentheses like this, and then it has open close parentheses to tell it to execute. Alright, we're not going to be using that. That just comes default. Usually you would put your code here, but we're not going to be using that. We're going to be using jQuery. And so what you can do is, I like to use jQuery again because it's really fast to get the job done for things I want to do. First and foremost, you can see if a website or a web page is using jQuery in your console here. So you click Elements and down where console is, or you could just click console and see all of your console. You could start typing jQuery, and if you see it pop up here like this, then it exists. Or you can type jQuery and hit enter, and you want to see something that looks like this with this F function. Let's go to Google. I'll show you an example of a site that's not using jQuery. Let's start typing jQuery. We don't see it there on the list. Alright, and this is what you'll see. jQuery is not defined. So there's a couple of ways that you can go about making sure that if you wanted to use jQuery on a page where it doesn't have it, then you can either make sure that Tampermonkey knows to require jQuery. So I'm going to type jQuery CDN here. All right, and this is where you can get the links to include jQuery to, bring it in as a requirement. I'm going to use the minified version of the latest core. So copy link address. And you can just put that there. And now Tampermonkey will know that before it runs your jQuery code in here, it will load this. All right, so that's one way of doing it. If you want to set up a Tampermonkey script with jQuery and have it run on every site just to make sure, so that you don't have to worry about requiring it anywhere, you know, if that was something that you wanted to do, then what you could do is, I'm going to create a new script, go to the jQuery CDN, click Minified, and copy this here, and then I'm going to open that. Okay, and so now what you want to do, this is all of jQuery minified, so we can Control A to select all, Control C to copy, and I'm going to paste all of that. Well, I'm not going to paste it here yet because it would all be on one line. So I'm actually going to use a nice little thing in Chrome Developer Tools, where if you click on Sources, I think, yeah, and Sources, these two little arrows here, you might have to click that and click Snippets, click New Snippet, and then paste here, and click this button, Format. This will prettify this file. See how it looks much nicer and kind of legible? Alright, so now you could save this snippet as jQuery, and then you could run this snippet from DevTools on a page if you wanted to. But we're going to Control A, Control C, come back into Tampermonkey here, and we're going to paste this prettified version. Alright, that just makes it more readable for us and all that good stuff. So I'm going to remove that, close that. Okay, and so now since I want this to run everywhere, what I can do is, instead of HTTP, I can do this. So hash colon slash slash hash slash hash. That should run everywhere. So I'm going to save this. Go Google and click here and see where this says new user script. It's because I didn't rename that one script. Close this, come back in here, install scripts, this user script. I'm going to edit that, and I'm going to call it jQuery. Control S to save. Close it again. Alright, come back to Google, refresh, and now we see here jQuery is enabled and running. So if I hit F12 and I type jQuery into here, we see it starts to pop up. I'm going to hit enter, and there we go. Now we have jQuery, and I can do stuff on Google's site with jQuery. So here, like this logo, we see the topmost parent element has this ID of HP logo. So we could just say jQuery ID HP logo, and then we could do something like dot remove. And there we go. So now we're using jQuery to hack around with Google if we want, or whatever. And then what you can do is take that jQuery and pop it into a user script, and then make it so that anytime you go to google.com or anywhere on google.com, that will run. So that's basically what we're doing here. Okay, so I'm going to close Google, come back over here. Now I want to make it to where this download button always shows. So I'm going to inspect this button. That's, you can either click this and hover over different elements and then click on it, or you can right click on an element. This is probably going to bring that pop up. Yep. Close that. What is this? So oops, already did that. Or you can right click on an element and choose inspect, and that'll do the same thing. Alright, so what happens with this download button? We need to observe the behavior. Is it even on the page whenever we first load it? To find this out, what we can do is look for a nearby element. So this go back button, it is here whenever you first load the page. So let's inspect that element as soon as we reload the page. We're going to inspect it, and then we're going to look below and see if we see this element on the page, but it's just hidden. So I'm going to go refresh. Right click here, which brings up the add, right click again, inspect, look below, And here, look at this download button, style display none. It's being hidden by an inline style. Watch this. Did you see how it went to opacity for a second? So basically it faded in this download button, and then it just removes the value from the style attribute once the timer runs out. So this is cool. This means that we should just be able to say, okay, there's shorthand for jQuery where you can use $, but if there's another library or if there's something else that's using the $sign like that, it can cause conflicts. So I've gotten so used to typing jQuery, it's just as quick for me to do that. But anyway, let's target class, which is a dot. So if you see class equals, then you'll do dot and then the class name. If you see ID equals, you'll do the hash sign and then the ID name. So I'm going to do dot download button, and I'm going to say dot remove attr for remove attribute style. All right. So I'm going to try to run that as soon as we load the page here. Okay, enter. Look, there's our download button. There's a stupid ad again. All right, so if I click the download now button, there it is. We get our download. This counter's still counting down. We don't care about that. Perfect. So now we've created a hack that will always show the download button. So let's just throw that in here. You're going to get jQuery is not defined. That's okay, because we don't have jQuery defined anywhere in the script. If we did like var jQuery, this is going to completely negate what jQuery is defined as on the page or whatever else. So yes, this makes the error go away, but it also renders jQuery completely pointless. So anyway, if you're running or using jQuery in Tampermonkey scripts, you're going to see these issues right here. Not a big deal. All right, so we can also leave ourselves a comment so we know what this does. This always show download button. All right, that's one thing out of the way. The next thing we want to do, I want to hide this text. I don't care about it. So I'm going to hover over that, and I see that this is h1 class margin dash bottom dash 30. We can search and go margin dash bottom dash 30. All right, we see it in two places. One is in stylus CSS, the other is just in this page. So there's only one instance of that, which is good, because if there are more elements with this class on it and we target this class, whatever we do with that, it's going to affect all those elements. So luckily, because there's only one occurrence of it, I can just say jQuery, and that is margin bottom 30. All right, and we are just going to remove it. Boom, bye-bye text. All right, so now I'm going to copy that, paste it here, and let's say remove countdown text. Next thing I want to do, clean this up a little bit. I hate this big spacing here. Let's get rid of that. So I see here, all right, we have this parent container here, this div with a bunch of classes in it. Each of these classes looks like bootstrap type behavior, where a class name, you know, basically tells you what is being done in the CSS. So padding dash top dash 30. In the CSS, we have padding top of 30 pixels, right? So that's pretty common. So it looks like what I want to do is get rid of the padding and get rid of the margin top. So what I can do is this text center. I'm going to see text center. Okay, that's also only referenced in one place in this file. That's cool. So now what I want to do is dot text center. All right, so it says, all right, jQuery, find the element that has this class, and it's going to find this. Now what do you want to do with that element? I want to toggle class margin top 50 and padding top 30. Let's see what happens. See how that tightened up nicely there? Alright, so I'm just cleaning up this page now for my own viewing pleasure. Paste that there, and let's say clean top spacing. Alright, we got that. Okay, so that's cool. The last thing I might want to remove is this thing here, this alert dash danger. I'm going to search for alert danger. Once again, only in one place, and because we've already got a remove here, all right, we can do this and say dot alert dash danger, and we can just keep targeting additional things if we want to do that same thing. So remove countdown text and bottom alert. Save that, refresh the page. Let's see, why is it not working there? Probably because of this, maybe. Star, control save, come back here, refresh. There we go. Alright, so that's one thing that we needed. So remember, whenever I said if your script doesn't work, you might wonder what it is. Probably something up here with match. Alright, so we needed this additional thing to say, alright, any other sub pages on this site also apply the script to that. So there we go, cool deal. Got that all nice and cleaned up. So now what I want to do is figure out what on earth this thing is, right? So if I inspect it, I get this, but I want to come up through the parent elements and find the main parent, which is this. We see it's an iframe. So what we can do is, that's easy enough. We can just iframe dot remove. We could check and see if there are other iframes, but we kind of don't care right now. I'm just going to see what happens whenever I go iframe remove. Alright, nothing. Let's see, jQuery is not defined. This is something that I've seen happen on this site every once in a while. I'm going to go refresh. Alright, now it should be fine. Alright, iframe remove. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to copy that. And that might be another thing, because this site seems to erroneously not have jQuery load or something. That's where requiring it in your script might make it to where, you know, it should pull in. This require might also be causing a conflict, because now I just realized that I have this require here and the script should have been running, so jQuery should have been there. So I don't know, maybe something to figure out. This removes iframes. Okay, I'm going to save that, refresh the page. That didn't work. Why did that not work? Alright, that didn't work because of how the content in this iframe is being loaded. There's something called cores that you can look into. It's a huge topic, basically security related. But because of that, we need to do something a little bit tricky for that. So what I ended up coming up with was set timeout. So set timeout in JavaScript here, W3 schools, display an alert box after 3 seconds. So basically what this does is after, no wait, I don't want set timeout, I want to set interval. Sorry about that, set interval. Alright, so set interval, what that'll do is every this amount of time, do this thing. Okay, so set interval, your function will run every 3 seconds because these are in milliseconds. So I'm just going to copy that. I've got the jQuery that I want to run, so I'm just going to copy that and replace this alert hello thing, right? And here I'm going to do like that, 100 milliseconds. Every 100 milliseconds run that. So why am I doing that? Because I identified earlier that this site will keep trying to check for existence of iframes and keep trying to add iframes back in. So that's another thing that this does very handily. So now I'm going to save this and I'm going to refresh the page again. And let's see what happens. There we go. No pop-up there, and just to show you it definitely works, I'm going to clear site data, refresh. Here we go. All right, got one more thing that we need to deal with here. Boom, this pop-up. What do we do for that? So with this, I'm going to clear site data and refresh again. There's something called event listeners, and event listeners are things that they listen for things on the page, or they, so like mouse is a topic here for event listeners. There are mouse related event listeners. So like when you click, do something. When the mouse moves, do something. So there's JavaScript running on this page that has some sort of event listener going on that when I end up clicking, it serves me that ad. So I might start with trying to set a breakpoint on a click event listener, right, on click. But I already went ahead and dug in, so I'm not going to like dig through all that. Mouse move is the one that it seems to set up something related to once you actually click, then it serves the pop-up. Because of the way the pop-up behavior acts, the click event listener breakpoint doesn't get me where I need to go with it. Okay, so I'm going to do the mouse move because I identified that that one does something. Now when I move the mouse over the page, like see here I'm in the developer tools, but once I move onto the page, watch what happens over here. Alright, you see that? So it fired in this where it sees mouse move being looked for in a function. So I'm going to click this format button here to pretty print this. And we can just kind of look through and see, like, what does this seem like it's doing? Does it seem like it has anything to do with a pop-up? I'm just going to keep resuming script execution through this. I already looked through these. Nothing looked related to what I wanted. But now we're in this new file here, thankyou.php, which is the page we're on. So here, look at this. Alright, so because this doesn't actually say mouse move, we are inside of an obfuscated bit of code here. Maybe obfuscated and minimized, but this is a script that exists on the page, so it's not being pulled from anywhere like this script up here, which has a source attribute value set here. Alright, so what you can do with these, I'm going to triple click and copy it, and then go Notepad, paste it in here, and look at this giant beast. Right? There are certain things that you can search for in here, but this one kind of has a little telltale sign at the beginning here. So this K200.R00 equals function blah blah blah. You'll reference window properties. So once again, you can look up window object, and I'll show you in a little bit kind of what that is. But you reference window properties using dot. And again, I'll show you what that is in a second. So it makes me think that K200 is like a parent property, perhaps. So what we can do is Control F, and I'm going to look for K200. And look at this, function K200, and then we have this K200.G40 equals function. Let's find next. K200 K40 equals function. G40 equals this function. So this reoccurrence of K200 plus or dot something makes me think that K200 exists as something in the window object. So what we can do is, actually I'll just keep it there. We can type window, and this will show us the window object, and we can expand this down and start digging through what we see here. So you have all this stuff that's a part of the window object. But usually towards the top you'll see custom properties and functions and things like that that are from JavaScript files and whatever else. And looky here, we have K200. So if we expand that down, here's all these different properties that are a part of K200. So since we saw something in here must be related to mouse move, what if we just did away with K200? What if we just deleted K200? Well, unfortunately, it's not just an easy thing to delete this, but what we can do is change the definition of K200. Alright, so we can set it to null or undefined. So what I can do is say, I'm going to click sources here, or not sources, elements, is that what I want? Or do I want sources? Anyway, I'm going to close this, this, and this, and I'm going to say K, or window, dot K, see it's starting to pop up here, 200 equals undefined. Alright, and now if I hover over the page, what happens? Nothing at the moment. Alright, so let's look at the window object and see what K200 says. Alright, it's still defined. What did I do wrong? Window K200. Let's try null equals null. Alright, so undefined should have done it. I don't know why that's not working. Hang on just a second. There we go. Alright, so it started working there. Oh, that's why, because I still had the event listener breakpoint set. So let me refresh the page one more time. Alright, and now I'm going to type that again here. And now let's go window. Let's look at K200. Alright, we see null here. It would have said undefined if I had undefined. But now that we've done that, now whenever I mouse move over the page, look at all these errors we're getting. Cannot read property R00 of null. So remember, R00 was a property beneath K200, but now it sees K200 not at all, it's null. So we basically rendered everything underneath that function pointless. Okay, so what that means is we can go in our script here and we can say remove pop-up behavior. Whoops, Control Z. And that was window.k200, and we should be able to say equals undefined. We'll save that. We'll come in here. I'm going to go Application, Clear Site Data, refresh the page. Alright, I'm clicking. I can click anywhere. I get Download Now. We see all these errors popping up in the console, but guess what? That doesn't matter because we're not looking in the console pretty much from here forward when we want to use the site. I'm clicking on stuff. I want to download backgammon. Download. Click download. Click download. Alright, it's waiting for, see down below. So anyway, maybe that ROM isn't readily available. Let's try Super Mario World. Download, click it again, download. There we go. Alright, so now I'm using this site, ad-free, no pop-ups, that iframe is gone, download button instantly appears, bam. So now I've got all that set. So all this nice little Tampermonkey script. And now you could go to any other site where you land on the site and you're like, Jesus, this frickin' site, man, it's got behavior that's annoying the shit out of me. And then you can just create a Tampermonkey script for it and hack it away, you know? So, anyway, feel free to ask some questions. I know I blew through a lot of stuff, and if you're not familiar with hacking the web whatsoever, a lot of this is probably going over your head. But I will leave links to different resources and things in the description below. Hack away, have fun, and I'll just see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not yet. Alright, take care, talk to you soon.